Hi folks, Sty North here. What's a Sty to do when he's stuck indoors for a day? I got a day off and um, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the day. Had a couple cups of coffee and my cup of shaga tea already this morning and got to thinking, well, fire up the camera, do a video of some kind, and I'm sitting here with my laptop working on videos that I want to make as time progresses, and just trying to decide which ones I want to do in what order. Can't wait for spring. For those of you that are, that keep up with my channel, you're aware that I went through major heart surgery 4 months ago, um, and I'm doing very well. So I want to thank everybody for all their get get healthy, stay well, all of that. Thank you very much, everybody. But I'm almost at 100%, so I'm real happy with that. But ever since that surgery, for some reason, I'm more sensitive to the cold. So I go out for my hikes every day here around town. Um, but I haven't been out exploring, taking a little easy on that end, just because my tolerance for the cold has kind of dropped off. And I'm hoping that'll change for next winter, because I do like to go out and winter camp. Um, so anyway, so I was trying to decide what I was going to do for a video today, and I thought, well, do some kind of Sty story, and well, I had put a video up yesterday, uh, that where I did a Sty story about a little incident when I was a boy, in a fishing shack that me and my buddy weren't supposed to be in. So check that video out. It's kind of a funny story. So I was thinking this morning about that video and about that story, and I thought, well, I've got all kinds of ice fishing kind of stories and stuff, and I thought, well, I'll just do something for fun this morning, literally just for the fun of it. I'm going to give you a little front story that leads up to a joke that I'm going to tell at the end of the video. Um, so this video is really just for fun. Um, the front story is not funny, um, but the joke at the end, some people think it's kind of a funny joke. And because of my story yesterday, it's fitting. So here we go. The front story. Well, back in the 70s, I was a member of on a search and recovery team, and I was a scuba diver, and that team was quite large. There was over 20 members of that team, and we worked on a rotating schedule kind of thing. We were on call 24/7 in a sense, um, and whenever there was an incident, you'd get paged in. Um, and fortunately, I only had a few incidents that I actually had to work. Um, and the key is that it was search and recovery. Now, compared to search and rescue, I wish I would have gone with search and rescue and not search and recovery, because search and recovery is just what it implies. You're looking for and finding um, people that fell victim to the outdoors and did not survive. So it never had a pleasant ending, never. Um, and the the side of search and recovery that I was involved in was underwater search and recovery. So um, that you were guaranteed there was never going to be a happy ending to that. And one thing we did after an incident is they would pull all the parties that were involved in the incident um, after the fact. They'd pull us all in for a debriefing. And we'd sit in this big conference room and we'd go through this debriefing. Well, it never failed. And one thing we learned is that in those debriefings, after all of the technical side of the debriefing was done, then what we would do is we would just vent and talk about the incident, talk about the things that were unpleasant about it, talk about how to cope with and deal with the shock of dealing with someone who had passed away in that fashion by drowning. Um, Not a pleasant thing at all. And my heart goes out to anyone out there that's ever had a loved one or a friend or an acquaintance that passed away in that fashion. It's a horrible thing. It's terrible. Um, but we found that the one healing process for the crew was a lot of times to throw humor into it. Now, this was only in our closed debriefings that you'd hear that humor come out. And it was really just to trigger a healing process so that the participants in that group could cope with and deal with what they experienced. And so we used humor as one of the methods of healing. Well, during one of those debriefings, I heard a joke. Now, the joke, with what we had to do, the joke to outsiders would have seemed very inappropriate. But in its place and in its context, it was very healing. So I'm going to tell you the joke. And I've heard this joke a couple of times since then from other people. So it's a joke that's out there. And it is humorous. It is kind of funny. Well, here we go, a little bit on this joke. First of all, this joke is, in a sense, targeting Scandinavians, Norwegians, the Dutch, the Danish, and the Finnish, all of which I am, by the way. And, okay, we're going to get going with the joke here. Okay, here we go. There are these three fellers, okay? Northern Minnesota. Sven, Ole, and Duda. Well, one morning they were all sitting around a kitchen table having coffee, and they said, well, we ought to go fishing today. Well, mind you, this was very early in the spring. It was just right after the ice went out. And Ole said, well, my boat is all ready to go, so let's take my boat and go fishing. So the three of them, they hooked the boat up to the truck and they took off and they went to the lake. They went to this really big lake. And they put the boat in the lake and they all got in the boat and they're just thrilled, and they brought all of the necessities. They brought all their fishing gear, they brought bait, and they brought bologna sandwiches and beer. Well, they get out on the lake and they're fishing and they're eating bologna sandwiches and they're drinking lots of beer, and all of a sudden Duda says, hey boys, he says, I gotta pee really bad. He said, what should I do? Well, Ole, he looked around and he goes, we're the only ones out here on the lake. It's so cold yet that nobody else is out here fishing, so just, you're in the front. Stand up on the seat and pee off the front of the boat. So Ole, he gets up there and he pees off the front of the boat. He's peeing, and all of a sudden Sven gets a bite, and Sven stands up and he goes, "I got a big one," and he sets the hook. Well, when he does that, he rocks the boat, and there goes Duda off the front of the boat, right in the lake. Sven, he panicked and he threw his pole down in the boat. He goes, "Ole, Duda just fell in the lake." And Ole says, "Well, don't just stand there. Jump in and save him." So Sven, he jumps off the side of the boat. He's down under the water for the longest time, and then all of a sudden he pops up, and Ole goes, "Did you find him?" And he goes, "No, no, no, I'll find him this time, though." And he dives under the water again, and he's down there the longest time. And Ole's starting to wonder, oh my gosh, did Sven drown too? And all of a sudden, here comes Sven. He pops up out of the water, takes a deep breath, and he says, I got him, and he's got a body, right? So he climbs in the boat, and him and Ole, they drag that body up in the boat. Sven says, "Get back, Ole, I'll save him. And he starts to do mouth-to-mouth on him, and he starts doing chest compressions, doing all the CPR. He learned CPR in the fire department, see? So he's just working on him, and he's doing everything that he's supposed to, and mouth-to-mouth, and then chest compressions, mouth-to-mouth. And then all of a sudden he feels Ole tapping him on the shoulder. He turns, he looks at Ole, he goes, "Ole, leave me alone, I'm trying to save him." Ole goes, "Sven, I got a question I need to ask you." And Sven says, "Not now, I'm trying to save him." Ole grabs him and turns him around and says, "Sven, really, I need to know something." And Sven says, "What is it?" And he says, "I don't remember Duda wearing a snowmobile suit." I think somebody needs to go back and check the missing persons reports, because no, Duda wasn't wearing a snowmobile suit. So there you go. There's a joke from Sty North and a little front story to go with it. I didn't spend a lot of time with the search and recovery team. After doing a few incidents, I didn't mind providing the service. The service was strictly volunteer. We got a stipend. Back in those days, the stipend, I think, was $25. $25 per day. We did have one incident where I dove for 2.5 days. I was in that lake. 2 full days, 8 hours throughout each day. And the second day I had 3 hours underwater. And we did finally find the victim. But I even though I felt it was a service that needed to be provided, I decided I was not the person to do that. That I just, the heartbreak that goes with dealing with a drowning victim, and they were young and old, so it's just not a pleasant thing to have to do. So anybody that's in that field and that line of work, I praise them to no end. And like I said, the joke was not meant to slight anybody that's ever experienced a drowning in their life. So please take it for what it was. It was a joke. It's for humor. And Stein's got to get to work and look at my video list and decide what I'm going to pound out for videos. I've got today off, and then I don't get another day off till Wednesday. So I'll probably make some videos on Wednesday, if not another one today. But we'll leave it at that. This is Sty North saying thank you for tagging along and watching this video. Hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. Love having you along. And you know what? You all Have a nice day. Bye bye.